It's not just because of our own freedoms, but it's because the government is hurting people. They're hurting them. They're damaging them beyond repair, some of them. And of course, some of them are dying. This is why we're here today. We're here for Chantel, and we're here for Fred Pye, and we're here for all of the people that couldn't be here today to speak. So please don't leave and do this march with us really fucking loud. Our last speaker is the Chief of the Atlantic Métis Society. Please welcome Greg Burke. Here he comes. He's a good speaker, by the way, just to warn you guys.
Oh my God.
Instead of me going that way when he was coming up this way.
There must have been something I ate for lunch. Hello, Patriots.
Woo!
Wow, what a crowd. And the speakers were awesome. I hope they saved the best for the last. I hope I don't disappoint you. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce myself, and then I'm going to talk about my own personal experience. Just let me adjust this again. There, I think my lunch is gone now. My name is Greg Burke. I'm Chief of the Atlantic Métis Nation here in the Atlantic Provinces. Thank you. Thank you. I'm here today because I feel obligated to my ancestors who died and fought for their freedoms over 600 years ago. We lost over 15,000 of our ancestors in 1752 when the British Empire decided that they didn't want them on the lands anymore. So what they did is they called my ancestors, which we had a council, we had our own currency at that time. We didn't belong to France, we didn't belong to England or British Empire at the time. We didn't belong to any country. Although we were pressured, our ancestors were pressured to sign an alliance to form a government with France and the British Empire. And my ancestors refused to do it. So in April of 1752, they were called to Halifax. The council was called to Halifax, right down here on the waterfront. And they were forcing them to sign an alliance with the British Empire, and they refused. And the British Empire, there goes an expensive truck. If anybody can get that lumber off that truck, they'll be a millionaire by the afternoon. So they came here to Halifax. They refused to sign the alliance, but the British Empire said, look, we don't want your people fighting against our soldiers anymore. So in goodwill, will you give up your guns? And they gave up most of their guns. They kept the one gun for the hunting. But what they didn't know at the time in April of 1752, this is a history that has never been taught in the schools here. And there's a history that's been lost. And it has to get out. So I'll just share a little bit of it with you. I don't want to bore you with it. But history is one of our greatest gifts. And we're missing it. We're on a piece of land right now where they took down the statue of Cornwallis. Good or bad, I'll get back to the 1752, but I don't have a speech, so I just speak from the top of my head, so look out. As Joe Biden says, look out. Let's go, Brandon. Let's go, Brandon. They took the statue down. As good as bad, I'm sure Cornwallis, I didn't live there in 1748, so I don't know what he did that was good, but I'm sure he did. But to take down history is destroying history and pouring out the untruths of history, and that's bad. I'm going to talk a bit in my speech about how the school system, starting in the elementary all the way to university, has poisoned the minds of young children. Okay, so back to the April of 1752. I'll be all over the map here because I don't have a speech. Just a second. I got to burp again. There, thank you. So they gave up their guns. What they didn't know was there was 2,000 soldiers coming from the British Empire to kick them off their land. And in August of 1752, they waited till Sunday until all my ancestors were in church, and they attacked them. They separated the women from the men, and the reason they separated the women from the men is because the women, as you can see here, outnumber the men. They're the nesters. They're the protectors of the nest. They're the strong ones. We're the warriors. We go with guns. Women go with their heart because they protect the nest. So they separated the men and the women. They put the men and the boys on one ship, and they put the women and the... Grab that lumber! And they sent them to lands in South America, Louisiana, all over the New England states. And it's been written in the diaries that the women were traveling around the towns in New England. The mayor wrote to the officers here in L'Acadie, that's what this was called before Nova Scotia. And they wrote that the women are roaming around, screaming their voices loud as they could, looking for their husbands and their boys. That's a little bit of the history. So I'm going to speak a little bit about my own personal experiences. Who here has had COVID? Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah. I had COVID, so did my wife. We had it, I got it in January the 7th of 2020 on a plane coming back from Alberta after visiting with my daughters. I know I got it on the plane because my 3 grandchildren, my son-in-law, and my daughter never got COVID. But my wife and I got it. It was nasty. I'm 69 years old. I don't have good lungs. And it's nasty. You know, the headache was bad. I never get headaches. You got to be smart to have a headache, and I never get a headache, but I did through COVID. So I suffered for 3 weeks with the COVID. I was well enough to go to my doctor and get a puffer, and I was back playing hockey after the 5th week. So, thank you. So, that was our experience with COVID, and I tracked it all the way back to when the military went to China for the Olympic Games in 2019. Of course, it was Great West Life, or not Great West Life, WestJet that flew them back across Canada, and I assume that's probably where I got it. There was probably a soldier on that plane that was dropped off in Alberta. So with that being, that was 2020, and we survived well. I don't wear a mask. I don't wear a mask anywhere. Nowhere. I've been kicked out of McDonald's in Truro. I've been kicked out of Canadian Tire in Lower Sackville. I've been kicked out of Hallmark Dentistry in Bears Lake. And those people are morons, the way they come at me. I got kicked out of an apartment building in Clayton Park. The superintendent went wild, and he said, F your Constitution, and F your charter rights, and F your... Oh yeah, and then the cop called. Yeah, the cop called. He was going to give me a $1,000 ticket until I started rhyming off the Canadian Bill of Rights. And we left as good friends. So, where am I here? Geez, I just sound like Joe Biden. What am I doing here? Oh, Brandon, yeah. So, I wasn't feeling well. I was moving my practice into with a company in Toronto to do my administrative stuff. I managed $36 million of people's money, 98 people from Newfoundland to Ontario. So I hired a company in Ontario to do my administrative work. And that was in the fall of 2020, and I wasn't feeling all that well. And by January, was feeling a little bit worse. So I decided to get on the Mayo Clinic and find out what the hell's wrong with me. I have 4 years of medical background in Toronto East General. Back in the 70s, I paid my way through school that way. I've held every organ there is in the human body, and I was fortunate enough to help with the first aorta transplant in Canada in 1972. So I know a little bit about sterilization, and I see these people wearing these masks, and they're touching their masks, and they're behind plexiglass. Nobody's sterilized. When you go to the OR, you can't even touch the doctor or nurse after you're sterilized. And we have UV lights. There's no UV lights. People are walking around with the mask on the face, walking around the streets here. I don't know what they're protected from. But anyway, everybody knows that the mask doesn't work, right? Do we all know why the mask doesn't work? Do we all know why? Tell us why. The blue mask has holes in it the size of 80 microns. And the virus is 0.6 microns. So that's like putting up a chain link fence to keep mosquitoes out of your yard. And of course, with other things, you're breathing in your CO2 and you're restricting yourself from oxygen. Actually, I saw a test on YouTube yesterday where this guy did the test on the oxygen with the blue mask, and the oxygen level was 21.7. Sorry, it was 20.7. Outside is 21.7. And when they put the mask on and they put the meter on, it dropped to 16.2. So that you're restricting your brain from the oxygen. Don't wear the frickin' mask. I don't wear the mask. Woo! A lot of people don't say anything. I go into many stores, a lot of people don't say anything. So anyway, I got on Google, Mayo Clinic, and I diagnosed myself with cancer. So in February, end of January, I went to see my doctor, and I said, Aiden, I've got cancer. We're going to be looking for cancer. And he sat back, and I told him what was wrong. So through the colonoscopy, yep, there was the tumors, 2 of them. So they said, we're going to operate on you in March 22nd. I ended up getting operated on in April 26th, day after my birthday. I don't wear a mask in the hospital. I don't wear a mask in any of the clinics. In fact, when did somebody just throw money at me?
That was so dramatic.
Take it off! Okay, keep going.
Yeah.
What? What? What was that?
I don't know.
Listen, if it's a quarter, I want it.
Whatever that was that happened affected the sound. It was just a...
Okay. Anyway, I'm limited on time. Can you hear me? I'm limited on time, so I want to... Okay, good. No, the quarter fell. So anyway, I got to get dressed again. So anyway, I went in, I had surgery done. I don't wear the mask. My doctor, when he walks in the room, I said, take that stupid thing off your face, and he does. And so my own experience had been, I'm on chemo, and I know this is coming off and on, so I'll try to scream as much as I can. If you don't hear me, just put your hand up. Can't hear me? No?
I don't know why it's...
This used to work in the TVs back in the 60s.
Yeah.
There. No. Technical problems, Houston.
Houston, we have a problem!
I'm so glad they didn't send me to the moon. There we go. Oh yeah, it was just a plug blew. Anyway, had the operation done. Every 2 weeks, I got to go up and get my blood checked out. I go to the VG, and I got these 2 people chasing me to the elevator with a mask on their finger. You got to wear a mask. You got to wear a mask. I said, I don't wear a mask. You can't go in the hospital. I just go in the elevator. I had one big guy trying to stop me to go in the elevator. I said, step aside, pal. I said, you and I are going to be taking that trip up to the 11th floor together. He did step aside. So I go up there, And I'm sitting there waiting to get my blood done, and I saw this lady walk by, and she was staring at me. She stopped in her tracks, and she said, "You're not wearing a mask." I said, "How do you know?" She said, "Don't be a smart ass." I said, "I've been a smart ass all my life, so I can't change now." But she said, "I'm a doctor, and I'm not going to have any of my cancer patients walking by you." I said, "Well, the aisle's 12 feet. I said, "They can go along the wall there." Anyway, long story short, she came with a mask on her finger. She said, "Wear this mask." I said, "I'm not wearing your friggin' mask." She said, "Are you exempt?" I said, "Yeah, as a matter of fact, I am." That's just the way I answered her. She said, "Well, show it to me." I said, "You gotta be kidding me. I'm not showing you nothing." I said, "I don't have to show you nothing." She said, "I'm a doctor." I said, "Oh, good." I said, "You got your PhD, then you explain to me how that mask on your face helps you and protects me." And I said, "If you're wearing a mask, you're protected, and so am I, according to your science. So explain to me how that mask is saving you." "I don't have time for you." Off she went. No. So that's what we're faced with here. So the serious part of my speech is the NWO. Who knows all about the New World Order? That's what's going on here, guys. It's the New World Order. This is not about the Chinese flu. This is not about the vaccine, although Trudeau is facing 3 felonies. Some people know about that. A lot of people don't know. Dr. Martin, David Martin, has found Trudeau. Yeah. That basket is going to go to jail. That thing in Ottawa's got to be the biggest imbecile, moron, sock boy, puff boy that I think has ever been in my lifetime. His father was bad, and he's worse. That boy has a mental problem, I'll tell you. So the New World Order here, people are talking about the fat little rat that's standing in the corner waiting for the cheese to fall. And does everybody know who the little fat rat is? China. China's behind all of this. They are throwing billions and billions, along with George Soros, who's working for them, and Walter Schultz, or Karl Schultz, sorry, who's reliving and reviving Hitler's dream. This is 1937 Germany. And the people that are getting the vax and wearing the mask are willing to wear the gold star. I don't understand that. As I said before, history is our greatest gift of all, and it's missing in our schools because the teachers, the school system has become a very left-wing libetard system, and it's pumping. I should ask, does anybody have any kind of alcohol or anything? I got my lips on this. Anybody got any alcohol? No? That's great. I'm glad nobody has it. So, what's happening in our school systems started in the universities with your Marxist professors and started poisoning the minds. And I'll just share something with you. In 2015, I had a meeting with Indian Affairs in Ottawa, and I was an hour late. An hour early. I'm never early. I'm always on Indian time. So these 2 girls come up to me, and they had a camera on their shoulder, and they had a clipboard, and they said, "You have a minute to answer some questions?" I said, "Sure." They said, "If you had an opportunity to speak to our class, what would you speak about?" And I said, "Well, what school are you in?" They said, "Carleton University." I said, "What are you taking in university?" They said, "Journalism. We're in our 2nd year." I said, "Oh." I said, "Okay, that's interesting then." I said, probably what I would speak about, they wouldn't allow me to speak in the university. Because what I'd speak about is the communist professors that they have in universities that are poisoning the minds of young students like you. I said, "You're 2nd year journalists?" They said, "Yeah." I said, what's the section 2 of the Charter of Rights? They didn't know. I said, I bet you learned everything there was about how great socialism is and how great communism is. You learned everything about Lenin and Marxism, but you learned nothing about the Constitution. They said, yeah, you're absolutely right. That's what's going on in our system. That's why we, the Patriots, are here today fighting, because what we're seeing is a diminish in our society because the professors, the school systems, the politicians. How many politicians here? Put your hand up. No, you're not a politician. How many politicians? None. You don't have a municipal politician here to protect you or stand up for your rights. You don't have a MLA. You don't have Houston, and you have no MPs. Nobody's standing up for you guys. Nobody. There's where we're starting to lose it right here. And it's up to us. We're the Patriots. And I'm going to close because I don't want any of you guys to get a ticket. Actually, you're not. I talked to the guy. You're not going to get a ticket. But he did say that they're more respectful for the left-leaning rallies than they are the right conservative-leaning rallies. But I'll close with this, and we'll do a chant. Tom Cochrane wrote a song called Brave on Crazy in 1991. And the reason he wrote that song, he wrote a lot of great songs, but the reason he wrote that song is he saw a movement starting in '85 in the school systems where it started with political correctness. And then it went into I think the passenger was embarrassed. He was hiding his face. And then it got into racism. And then it got into destroy our history. As bad as good as it is, we shouldn't destroy any history. We shouldn't be taking any statues down. What we should be doing, if it's bad, we should be teaching our children that. You know? So, Tom Cochrane wrote the song Brave On, and he said, what we have going on here is a war against freedom and the hypocrisy. And the hypocrites will look for any kind of costume that will fit. And that's what's going on here right now. That's what the politicians are doing. So I want to hear the chant, brave on. Brave on. Brave on. Brave on. Brave on. Brave on. Brave on! Scream it to the highest roof. Brave on! Thank you guys. Thanks for coming out. And I appreciate you listening to me. Now I need a parachute to get off this damn thing.